Contrast is basically nothing but the differences between the subject and the background that you are going to be using on your drawing or your project or in any kind of graphic design or something like that. It even is found in photographies and all the other kinds of visually entertainment projects. So the difference is subject and the background. Today we are specifically going to talk about three of the most important contrasts. First one being the value contrast, then the second one is the shape contrast, and lastly third one, the most important to me, is the color contrast. So let's start with one by one. So first we are going to talk about the value contrast. First of all, let me show you three of my drawings that I recently did, and these are also some of my favorite work. So I will be asking you questions out of this and I will be also explaining what are the three different types of contrast with these images only, because these three images will help you to understand why all these three contrasts are necessary to be used in your each project and how it is correlated to each others and how you can affect your overall drawing. So here's are the three images that I recently did. Okay, my bad, let me bring it down. Okay, I think now it's clear, I guess. So as you can see, these are the fan art that I recently did. First one is Ganyu from Genshin Impact, then the second one is Sam from Death Stranding, and the last one is Seiko Ayase from the anime Dandadan. So since we are going to talk about the value contrast, now I will turn on the gray mode for this layer and I'm going to show you how value contrast is used. So as you can see here, let's start with the first one, the Ganyu one. As you can see, you might also know that the value contrast is nothing but differences between black and white, or as you can also say it as light and shadow or dark and light, something like that. So here as you can see, which is like has the brightest value out of the background. The background is most likely covered in the dark shadow, and you can also count the value of the clothes and all. It has a mid value, means lighter than the skin value, because the skin is directly getting hit by the light source, and that's why it has an obvious contrast with the background. And then the second one, for the second one, as you can also see, no, let's start with the third one first, then I will come to the second one and I will let you know in a minute. So as you can see here too, as I already told you, value is more likely differences between black and white or light and shadow, something like that, right? So as you can see here, in this case the main character Seiko, the order focus is in the dark. Actually it has some rim lights and all, but it is negligible. As you can see, the rest of the background is mostly lighter than the overall character, that which is in shadow and has a darker value. So I will come to the all of these three again. So let's come to the second one. So as you can see, the situation is more like an overcast. If I like turn off the grayscale mode off, so as you can see, the character has a darker value, alright, and the overall the background has a lighter value, alright. So what I can say from is that the character is not like being contrasted out of the background by the term light and shadow, but instead it is being contrasted using the local value of the suit the character is wearing or the elements that he is carrying out or the carriages. And the background is obviously snowy, so it's going to be white. So what I mean is, look at all these three images. This first one and the third one has a similar concept, which includes the contrast between the values of light to dark, isn't that right? But in this scene, as you can see, it's nothing like that. It's more like the character itself is darker than the rest of the background. And why is that? Because let's turn on the color mode. As you can see, the situation in this particular image is an overcast situation, isn't that right? If you don't look at the values and just directly look into the character, you are not going to be like pinpoint why the value is like the darker and stuff like that. But the character was or the suit that was developed by the character designers of the Death Stranding, they made it in such a way that it has the darker value for the overall suit, which in this case is the blue, and it has overall the darker value. And it was my option to put it in such a situation where the background is going to be lighter, because it was in my control, and that's the freedom of being creative and being able to draw. But in photography you don't have that freedom, so it's kind of being restrictive at that point. But in drawings or in graphic design, you have the you have full freedom to do anything you like. So in this case, as you can see, the background is the lighter part that I choose intentionally, because if you have ever played the game Death Stranding, you might have seen like, oh, most of the time the game is more like cloudy, or if the character is going to terrain and stuff like that. Since the character suit is already in the darker value tone, and the terrains or the, let's say, if the character is going through flowing river or stuff like where rocks are there, and it's also overcast, then of course the character is going to blend most of the time, and that's the beauty of the game, and that is intention. I'm not trying to make a critique out of it, because all of these are professionals, because they are trying to make the character not too much focus on the game, and they just want to keep the character blending as much as to the background, because it helps the viewers or the players to give attention more to the background than the character, and that way the players can really explore the game, and they can also enjoy the background of the game. So here in this scene, because of the snowy area I choose, I really had that kind of freedom to put the character in such a way that to make an contrast out of it. I will turn on the grayscale mode again. So as you can see here, look close, the character is really darker, isn't it? And the snowy area has really lit up the background and made it white. So for now, this is all you need to know for the value contrast. It is nothing but more the differences between light and dark, or let's say if you are making a character concept and you are trying to make the character has an local value which is darker or lighter. It depends where you put the character, and on that basis the character is going to either stand out or not stand out, depending on the background that you are going to use. So it all depends on you how you are going to use the color value and shapes and all, and shapes and color I'm going to talk about later video. So for the value contrast, this is all you need to know so that you can really implement in your work and improve your work. So if you have any questions regarding the value contrast, and I'm still trying to find any more points so that I don't miss any of the points, but I am not getting any points at this point. I will let you know if I get any other points in the later on this video. So for now, let's get started with the next section of this video, which is shape contrast. Shape contrast, it is one of my favorite contrast among these three contrasts, and I personally why I like this, because I did a lot of research on this, because in my previous works I always had confusions like why my focus is, and I really like storytelling in my work, and that's why I always thought like why my intentions are not in the drawings, and why the drawing or my work is not speaking to me, something like that. So I really researched through, and I really got into a point where I found out about shapes, how to use them, and to tell a different kinds of story in your work. So before starting anything, I just want to ask you a simple question. Just look at these three drawings, and can you tell me what are the shapes that I use in each of these drawings? I'll give you some moments, and you can also pause the video and comment down your answers. Just don't cheat, okay? So I will wait. I guess you have written down all of your thoughts in the comments. I will definitely check each one of them. So for the first one, the shape that I use, you can see something like the moon, half moon, something like that, right? But if I make a circle, if I adjust it to the point, then you can really see that, right? The circle in here, and that's how I got to the point. And where let me turn off this layer. See, if you look at this image, you can definitely see that don't look it as a character Ganyo, just look it as a simple girl who is sitting or standing in a branch of tree, which is roots are submerged in a pond, and the light is reflecting on the character, and there is a deep dark forest. It's kind of like a mental piece or something that is looping, isn't that right? You can't tell the meaning of the story, but yet it feels warm inside and kind of peaceful in itself. So that was the intention of my story, and with the help of this circle, I really got to that point. So for the next one, so as you can see, these are the carriages. Can you see it now? Yeah. So for this one, again, if I turn off the layer for this one, it's like giving the vibe of an passing of time, or like an really stompy feeling, like it's about to like thinking something very deep, doing something very deep. And if you really go to the Google and search things like what does shape rectangle or square means, or again for the same, again if you search for the circle too, you will find different meanings on it. So just like that, for this drawing, because since I used a square in it, the drawing itself became so much viable, and really it gave us a hype that where the character is like passing the time and something like that, isn't that right? So and after that, let's get started with this one. For this, as you can see, it is following a kind of like triangle, isn't that right? Can you see that? Yeah. So basically I use the triangle for the whole body, but not, and it's really really small in it compared to the other shape, but it doesn't matter. It just matters this shape. And for this one, you can really see there is a movement in it. The character is doing something action, isn't that right? And and the story itself is telling you that yes, the character is doing something, and you are really, as an artist, you have the freedom to do this kind of stuff. But as a viewer, they are not going to know that you are using this kind of say contrast stuff like that, but unconsciously their mind will read it as yes, this character is in motion or an action. So using this type of shape in your canvas really helps to pop up your character among the other stuff or props or the background. So that way you can use the shape contrast. This is one of the most valuable thing that I learn in my career. So since these are not the only shapes that you can use, you can also use different shapes like hexagon, pentagon, anything that you can, organic, inorganic, anything. You just need to focus on only one thing. Just before starting anything, just try to figure out the story. Basically, you are always going to use these three shapes, whether it's a triangle, whether a square or a circle. Circles are always the same, but squares can be like, it can be rectangle, or its length can be adjusted, or sometimes it can also be transformed into a trapezium, which again can give another kind of vibe, which is going to be like the square plus triangle, which is going to be a trapezium vibe. So it's going to tell a story like something like it's also is in motion, or again it has a depth to it, or the character, whatever you are making, the character or the whatever thing, or whether it is a scenery or like character. That way you can use different kinds of shape in your work, and you should also do some research and experiment with different kinds of shape, whether it's organic or inorganic. Just remember, use the shape wisely, and always you should be aware of where and how to use your shapes in your canvas. And again, if you really want an in-depth video on this topic and how to use these shapes in your canvas and how to just comment down, and if you really want a video on that, I will really make sure to make that video on it. So again, since we have come to this for the second part, so I just want to tell you, please, if you have watched till this, thank you, and please consider subscribing to my channel. It really helps me a lot. Also give a like and share to this video. One more point, you have probably seen something like Fibonacci or like the golden spiral or grid rule or something like that, right? But again, those are specifically for photography, not for drawing. Yes, you can definitely use them on drawings as well, but again, let's say you are making an artwork, and you are again every time you are using the same concept of grid and the golden ratio or the spiral one, isn't that right? But again, if you keep using the same stuff for over and over the years, then of course you are going to get bored about it, and you really will have the urge to try new things, isn't that right? And that's when comes this different shape. Those are only for those are the rules, like grid rule or the golden ratio. Those are the rules to find a golden point, or like the focus in the photography, and find the perfect focus in the nature, not in the drawing. Just remember that is a myth that you can all the time. Yes, as I already said, yes, you can definitely use Fibonacci or the grid rules in your drawing, but again, it gets boring over the time. So that's all for the shape contrast. Now let's get started with the last contrast, which is going to be the color contrast. So what is color contrast? If I were to simplify it, it is nothing more than like yes, you can say it like complements color. But again, complementary color, it is one of the color harmony, right? There are three types of color harmony: triadic, analogous, and complementary color. And it is a myth that color harmony and color contrast is same, or more precisely, color contrast is not equal to complementary color. Remember, yes, it can be same, but you need to think it as a different thing, or like two different things, because color contrast is more about personality. Color speaks to you, but color harmony is a kind of color hierarchy and what is the overall feeling of the drawing. But color itself has a specific language. So for this topic, color contrast, I'm going to show you how I use different kinds of colors and how to emphasize different kinds of mood in it. Yes, colors are specifically to use so that the viewer can relate the mood to it. As you might have already know, red is like for warm tone or like an aggressive stuff, or like the blue is for cooler tone and stuff like that. That's right. You have already heard all this stuff, and like most of the creators say the same thing again and again. So you probably know that. So what I'm going to do now is, can you see this one, middle one? I'm not going to talk about the these two, the Ganyu and Seiko one. one, because this middle one has a deep meaning to it. Like it's very cool in its tone, the overall situation is overcast and stuff like that, so it also doesn't have much color to it in it. Only the character has like the most of the colors. So now I'm going to add an layer which is going to be in this I'm going to set the blending mode in lighter color, and let me show you, and I will turn it on. So can you see this now? Yes, it is not perfect. The color is getting in other stuff too, but can you see the shadow? Most of the shadow part has turned into red. Yes, it is giving a deep vibe, right? Yes, if I were to like turn the background as well into a red kinds of stuff, you are probably going to see a war kind of stuff, right? So that gives the vibe. Yes, the character is in a war or something like that. He is like fed up from war or something like that, right? So but if I turn off the layer again, the whole situation is concentrate into blue color, and it is being a cool mood. So again, I am telling you again, color contrast is not equal to color harmony. Color harmony is what you will find in a drawing, like what kind of color palettes I use, like whether it's analogous, triadic, something like that, or complement. So for the color contrast, let's say again, one more important point that I should have said earlier in this video. So remember, value and color both are really important and is related to each other. If one exists, others exist. If one doesn't exist, then the other don't exist. You might have like if you are a really beginner artist, you have probably seen your works like gets messed up all over and there is like you have put a lot of color. Like yes, you can see in this one is chaotic, right? I have put different, yes, sorry for that. Yes, you can see different kinds of stuff. Like there are lots of characters, there are 3 characters overall, there are different and lots of elements, but look how I balance those stuff. It's not because of like only the color. Yes, you are adding different colors. For that, always remember to use value and color. Always, yes, you have like hard creators say you should always do shading and the initial starting of the drawing in a grayscale method, but they never tell you one important thing, which is that how it is related to color and how you should approach the color later after getting an hang out of the value. And again, this is a really fast topic, and if you really want an in-depth video on this topic, just let me know down in the comments. I will really make sure to make an video on it. So there is not much to say about the color contrast, but I will show you one more trick to it. So here's a sphere. So I will pick a skin tone, like it's an reddish orange. It's a bright skin tone. So the value is in the lighter section. So among all this, I am not going to talk about the shape contrast, but about the value and how the color. Let me delete this one. Delete the color. Just look at this color wheel. Okay. Let's say I'm picking the skin tone like at around here. Okay. So first of all, I will just fill up with the value. I want the local tone of the character. Let's say the skin is going to be white tone or like an more of an yellowish red or orangey type kind of tone. I'll select the hue from between yellow and red, which is going to be orange, or more precisely a little lower, which is going to be reddish orange. After this, I will move the color picker. Since it is an white skin, there is not going to be more color pigment, so it is like going to be less saturated than the black skin. Again, there's going to be one trick. Okay, I will put another layer above it. So see, this layer is the value layer, and this one is going to be the color layer. I will fill up the color. As you can see, now I will just turn this into gray mode. So there is going to be differences, but it's going to be very minute. Here's the magic. Gray. Okay, you can see this, right? This one is the color layer. Okay, and this one is the value layer. So I will turn off this layer. Just see the magic. Can you see the value difference? No, right? That's the power of value and color. That's how it is related. But again, can you see? Just look. I will just turn off the background as well. So look, I will just zoom in more. Turn off. Can you see the difference? No, right? Turn on. Can you see the difference? No. But again, if I turn on the color mode, yes, it has color. Basically, what I mean is, this both has the same value. What the color does is it hides the value, but again retaining its value. It's a bit complicated to get, but remember, it is one of the most important thing that you will like need to make a proper and really focused drawing in your work. If I were to render it, the skin is going to be at the outside. Okay, there's going to be sunlight. No, there's going to be natural light, no any artificial light. So since the sun doesn't have much color, see, only the sun only has color when it is in the morning or in the afternoon time, like in the golden hour time. So the sun doesn't really going to have much of the, but first again, even though I am speaking about the sun, first of all, let's pick up the color again, and we will start with the shadow. The shadow depends on the background. If it is much closer to the background, it is going to have saturation, and if it is not closer to the background, then it is going to have less saturation. The shadow will have darker value. So I will pick the around here. Just keep looking at the color wheel. Okay, what I'm going to do is, the skin is far from the background, like it is in an open area, so it's going to have less saturation. As you can see, the skin tone is around this area, this much of saturation. Okay, like around, I would say 20-30%, I guess, from the value range. So its saturation is going to be at around less than that, but I'm going to turn it into a even if I don't like change the hue, it will still look the same. So I will just pick up a brush now. I will just pick up a soft brush. As you can see, this is the shadow part. Okay, after doing the shadow, I'm going to pick up the local tone of the skin again, and then I will add the light. The sun has color. Okay, it is most of the time it is yellow, so it is also going to have a less saturation. I will just lower the saturation and add around here. Okay, and also increase the brightness. Always remember, it is a really simple tip. The light is not something that you only give to only like one side, and you are going to keep an part like you are going to keep an local tone space left. It's more like it covers the area. Like, see, can you see, I covered the area. I didn't like, even it is like going overlapping with the shadow, right? That is what the light is. Yes, the highlight is a different. Highlight is where the light is going, or like the striking at the point. Okay, this is the highlight. This kind of skin is mostly where you can when it is an open space or around like 10 a.m. in the morning, so something like that. So I will show that again in this my piece. Let me show you right here. Can you see this blood? Can you see this blood area? Yeah, this blood area, and this one too, and also with the like the surrounding water, it is bouncing off its light in the skin. Since the character is close to this blood area, it is an onsen actually, so, and it has a warm tone in it, and it is like basically reflecting the light, so that's why it does shadow has a color. And also, of course, it is a room, there's going to be a lots of bounce light, and that's why it has different kind of bounce light, and that's why the character has saturation in its shadow. That's just all the things that you need to know. So a quick recap on this video. So first we learn what is value contrast. Value contrast is nothing but differences between light and shadow, and you can use value contrast whether in light and shadow or in like the basic tone of an object or subject of an or characters, and these are the two ways that you can use value. And then secondly, we came across what is shape contrast. Shape contrast is how you use shape with different meanings in it to tell a different story each time. It can be organic or inorganic depending upon the story you want to exhibit in your work. And lastly, we came with the color contrast. So in color contrast, we learned that color contrast is not the same as color harmony. Color contrast has an language in its own self, and each color can speak differently to one another. So that's all for today's video. Let me know down in the comments if you have any kinds of thoughts, and yes, I can also make videos like how to plan this kind of ideas, like how to tell a story in your work, and just let me know down in the comments to make such kind of video. So just give me ideas so that I can create more and more stuff for you guys. And thank you for those who supports me always. Please subscribe to my channel. I am new to YouTube, so I'm just getting started. So thank you. Bye. See you in the next one.